attack the idea, not the person. If you end up attacking the person, what you're doing is you're attaching the idea that they are spouting with them and any categories of identity that you recognize. And then you yourself are falling into thinking traps. I've been having an exchange, quite a limited exchange, because I'm not going to get into an online fight with somebody I've not met before. But I've been getting into an exchange with somebody who is on the left and who is bashing people within the political arena who are perceived to be on the right. And the bashing involves some sort of insults about, I would say, appearance, and also bringing insults about race. And I roll my eyes. I roll my eyes because this is lazy. It is very lazy. By not making the effort, taking the time to grapple with the idea that somebody is putting forward, what you're doing is you're taking the lazy way out and you're demonstrating to others and potentially those younger than us that this is the way that you are to win a debate or a discussion. Instead, what we need to be doing and what we need to see more of is people just getting to grips with what is it that the other person is putting forward, even if it is absolutely astonishing, ridiculous, and we find it incredulous. We've got to sort of figure out a way to uh, entertain the logic and understand where it comes from. And then if you end up sort of not even being able to agree to disagree, it's fine. In fact, I think the whole agreeing to disagree thing is a bit of a cop out as well. It's like you've got to understand where people are right now and, what their biases are. And that's why I have merch called Biased, because we all are. Slurp ASMR, and it's about sort of being aware of our own biases as well. So it's election time. Normally I stream, and I will be streaming about the US election, less than 24 hours to go. But I wanted to say this because there's been a great deal happening on the UK front as well, with a new party leader that has been chosen, elected by the Tory party, the Conservative Party, Kemi Badenoch. Kemi Badenoch is seen by many as a refreshing change, but also by many as a divisive person and character for all sorts of reasons. And I'll dive into that in another video and stream. For now, what I wanted to talk about is representation and why is it important. So unfortunately, I don't have the time to do a deep sort of academic dive into this and provide a lyrical paper on it. I've got other papers to write at the moment. But what I can do is put forward some ideas available on Google. Like, I don't need to cite these ideas. They are random Reddit slash Harvard slash Google slash AI ideas that are put forward about why representation is important. And if we just sort of see these as ideas and think about how we can understand them and where they come from, I think that's a great start, because my my current entertainment, if you like, is listening to people and watching them get incredibly possessed about being represented. And why do we expect our leaders to represent us when we are all so unique and multifaceted? How can a leader represent us wholly, like the whole of us? It's not possible. And that's why what you have to do when you build alliances or get into bed with someone, decide to get into bed with somebody, um literally or metaphorically, um you have to sort of figure out where your most fundamental values align right now, especially when it comes to leadership. And To expect a leader to represent every single part of us, or for us to become so significantly, overwhelmingly horny about the idea that somebody who has a similar physical category similarity, sorry, to us means that we will now be heard and seen is absolutely ridiculous. And to that overwhelmingly horny person, politically horny person, I will say, please chill and take a cold shower. It's 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 absolutely ridiculous, in the same way that people would think that, oh, we have if I'm male and I have a male leader, oh, or if I'm female I have a female leader. No, because and then to get incensed that, as a woman they are not representing us. You cannot, Floor and Phil, to expect that just because they are a woman. And so then they say, by the same logic and argument, to expect somebody who is the same funny tinge as you, um, to think like you, speak for you, is just a silly, really, really silly expectation. And so when I am slightly excited or interested or curious about somebody entering the political arena like Kemi Badenoch, it's because they're putting forward some ideas that I'm like, ooh, haven't heard that in a while. Or, ooh, that's sort of sparking my curiosity. It's somebody who's willing to sort of wrestle with things in a slightly different way, who's saying that they are willing to do it in a consultative manner, collaborating with others. And they talk about, approaching things as an engineer would, and applying some systems thinking. Being a systems thinker myself, I'm like, okay, I'm not thinking a woman, a woman of color. Yes, that's not playing a part for me here right now. It's really not. It may on some subconscious level, but in a conscious, intellectual, very present awareness level, I'm paying attention to what the ideas are. And that's why I didn't get overly excited when people started talking about, we now have a female woman of color who's now the leader of a party, and blah, blah. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I don't care. Let's just stick to the ideas. Like I said, stick to the ideas, attack the ideas, not the person, praise the idea, not these categories. Because it doesn't matter almost now what category you are. Your influences, your worldviews, your perspectives are informed by so many different factors other than the funny tinge that you are. I'm making a joke about funny tinge because somebody who was in a media interview with Ash Sarkar, sorry, from Novara Media. I think it was a politician started talking about people who were not white, and called them a funny tinge. It still sticks with me. So we're going to talk a little bit about representation. What kind of representation do you want? So we can talk about sort of categories of representation, but we can also look at, is it even possible for a person to represent all of my ideals and values? My ideals and values change all the time. What I want is a leader who's going to be able to deal with the most important, globally threatening issues. And yes, the personal values and all the rest of it does play a part. It informs all of it. But then you've got to look at what else informs all of it, and that's an entire system. The system is not going to change. The system is going to prop up certain leaders and individuals and candidates, and those are the ones who are going to wrestle it out, and one of them will win within that system. And if the system doesn't work, then what's the point of getting so, like, you've got to at some point apply some critical thinking and accept, this is a system I'm in, what's going to work best for this particular system, and what can I do to change the system, how can I contribute in that way? That's where I believe that even community, smaller community endeavors and activism really works in a grassroots way, but also influencing at a higher level of thought. If you can't get in the room, you can still influence by thought, with thought. Challenge yourself, challenge your assumptions. I keep going off on these tangents because it's been a really entertaining few days. Very entertaining few days. It's really easy and it's lazy to get into all of the so-called identity politics and just get into all the categories and just get really like possessed and incensed and as I said, politically horny about it. So here are some ideas from Google. The importance of representation lies in the fact that humans mimic what they see, and when they see someone who holds who sorry when they see someone who looks like them in a position of power, it sends an implicit message that they too can achieve success. Representation also unlocks human potential and can reveal undiscovered talent. So, okay, there are quite sort of unique circumstances and exceptions. You could say somebody with disability who uh, hasn't ever had a foot in the door of a particular industry or arena and is now, getting a place like that. That's definitely, um, you would argue, um, a positive thing in the same way if somebody of a particular race isn't usually seen in a position of power, is seen, yes, of course, you would argue on one hand or in one realm, in one sort of idea, logic, that's a positive thing. However, and the however is this, and I think the difference between disability and race is this. It's about, yes, it's about representation, but does the person who is now in a position of power, who is of a particular race that isn't usually represented, are they going to be informing policy? Are they going to be bringing ideas that are dictated by their race? If you say yes, then I would say it's a problem for leadership. You want somebody who isn't dictating things by one category, as in using the one category as an influence. The same would apply to somebody who is bringing sort of awareness towards, for a disability. Are they in a leadership position, or are they sort of, for instance, on Strictly Come Dancing, there are a couple of celebrities who have disabilities and they're representing, and that's a positive thing. Are they in a position of leadership? They are not. If we talk about leadership, are they bringing something new to the table? Absolutely. It's a positive thing to bring something new to the table. But is that all there is? No, it's not all there is. So then, if we get hung up on the category, we are essentially boxing people up into these little boxes and we expect them to represent based on that category alone. That wasn't where my mind was going. I was about to get stuck in a trap or my logic was about to fall down. So I think there was still potential for my logic to fall down. I think there was a gap there somewhere. I might have to fill it, in the sense I'll have to figure it out and do a correction. In the sense that representation is good, but that's not all there is. I sound like I'm backpedaling, and perhaps I am. I don't think I am. I think what I'm doing is I am pointing out the positive bit, but saying that's not all there is. So, going back to this Google insight, representation also unlocks human potential and can reveal undiscovered talent. Of course, if you are attached to a particular category that you represent or that you identify with, and you see somebody in a position that you would like to be in who also has that, it could provide you with a bit of a boost. Is that all that you need? No, it's not. It can provide you with a bit of motivation. It can be a catalyst, but is it everything? It is not. Representation can serve as opportunities for minority people to find community support and validation initially. But I mean, if that's all that you identify with, then fair enough. But I mean, my bias and my subjectivity is that I don't identify fully, purely, only or dominantly with my race or ethnicity or my gender. And here's a last insight from Google. Our brains are hardwired to respond to a narrative. It's a survival technique. And one of the reasons we are successful as a species is, if you think about it, we can cooperate creatively on a huge scale to collectively envisage a future that we want to inhabit and then build it. Isn't that incredible? And a lot of being able to envisage a collective future on a large scale, this is so word salady, comes from seeing your neighbor's welfare as intrinsically linked to your own. Okay, so that's about finding connections and things that you find similarity with, let's say. But the thing is, guys, when we keep hearing, we have more in common than we have, what differentiates us, etc., etc. But what are the things that we have in common? Let's talk about those things, so we can help ourselves and each other get out of these thinking traps, these traps that I think can put a ceiling on our growth. If there's a thinking trap, there's a limit on what you are able to imagine, bring about, how you innovate, how you can contribute. Like, let's not put limits on it. But you see, this sort of like rational way of thinking, you might consider it irrational. This sort of rational way of thinking is also hijacked by people who want to dismiss that there are bad actors and there are systemic and systematic problems where people who do uh, come with those differences are discriminated against, because discrimination does happen and it happens still. I think I just said the same thing twice in a different way. And so, what they want to do is use a rational, critical sort of thought pattern or any logic that perhaps I've posed here, and then use it to basically say there's no such thing as discrimination, which is absolutely ridiculous. But what we don't want to do is feed that discrimination by only identifying with the very categories that people want to limit us to. That's a bar. I just gave you one. What we don't want to do is fuel and perpetuate the system that relies on the categorization of us as being limited to just one or two things. So it's just more fuel for it. I said it better the first time. So I do really appreciate you being subbed, and for the new subs, of course. How are you going to vote? How are you feeling about it? I need to talk about the US election. I'm about to today because it's the day before the election. So I'm happy to have you here. And if we disagree, that's fine. Of course we must. There's, supporters of the channel who are either on Patreon or have joined the channel here don't entirely see things my way, but perhaps they see me as a good faith actor and we can get on and they like my trolly humor. And, all the faces I pull when I'm doing a reaction to a political video. I have merch. You can check it out. And I have chipped nails, but I'm doing some painting, so it's important that I don't waste time and effort and energy on a manicure. I do appreciate you being here. It's been wonderful. It's been wonderful to chat like this and to rant. It's 20 minutes now, nearly. So I'll see you in the next one. Okay, then.